All right. Biden is fighting to keep his campaign alive during solo press conference. I told you guys that it wasn't going to be as bad as you think it was going to be, and the media was going to play the role of covering it as like, he had some moments, but he ultimately pushed through. Look at what a big boy he is, and that is the overwhelming consensus. Obviously, in the normie sphere, everyone's talking about Vice President Trump. Everyone's talking about President Putin and all that kind of stuff. But in the media sphere, in the sphere of those with actual proximity to power, the way that this press conference was reviewed was, he showed that this is his favorite subject, and he's good at talking about NATO. Look at him. He's so good at foreign policy. Let's continue.
Working to save his re-election campaign. The president took questions last night at his first solo news conference in 8 months. He showed command of foreign policy over nearly an hour, but also stumbled at times. The big question now,
I should have just let George say it, because he just literally said it. He showed command over foreign policy, but he had some stumbles.
Elected Democrats fall in line or ease him out of the race. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce starts us off. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, the White House this morning is touting a strong performance from the president, but it is not clear if what we saw from him last night is going to be enough to turn the page. He did admit that there are other Democrats who could beat Donald Trump, but said it would be hard to start from scratch. And the president was adamant, unless his team can show him that he is headed for certain defeat, he's staying in this race. Overnight, despite a rising wave of opposition, President Biden making clear his mind is made up, convinced that he remains the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
During an hour-long press conference, Biden taking questions from 9 reporters, hoping to demonstrate he has the mental fitness and stamina to stay in this race and lead for 4 more years.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
But out of the gate, Biden mixing up his own vice president and his rival.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Trump seizing on that moment, writing, "Great job, Joe."
It's so funny because, like, in a way, Trump can't be beaten on him too hard for 2 reasons. One, because he wants him to stay in the race because he knows that's a beatable candidate, unlike the rest of the Democratic lineup. And he also can't be beaten on him too hard because then he's going to look like he's just like doing elder abuse, and no one wants to see that. But of course, the fact that he's pulling his punches also causes other election watchers to see him as like a person that's moderating his positions. So in a way, it's a win-win-win for Donald Trump to just like kick back, let the media cycle eat Biden alive, and they just do the damn thing with the RNC. That's really gonna swap the attention, I think, unless Biden actually says some fuck shit in between now and the RNC. Like, the media will of course shift their focus over to like how insane the Republicans are, even though I suspect that this RNC cycle is going to have the Republicans trying desperately not to come across as like super radical. So we'll see.
Yes, I know the difference. One's a prosecutor and the other's a felon. Hours earlier, a similar mistake. Biden introducing Ukrainian President Zelensky as Russia's Vladimir Putin.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin.
President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin.
Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin.
Pressed on that error, the president laughing it off.
You mixed up Presidents Zelensky and
Good catch, sir. You really killed it.
Putin earlier today.
Dismissing the moment and calling the NATO summit a success. But even as he pushed back against concerns about his age, the 81-year-old admitting,
I just got to just pace myself a little more. Pace myself. In the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before.
But the president was defiant, dismissing the growing chorus of Democrats calling for him to exit the race.
I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving. And because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish.
And while he said he has full confidence in his Vice President Kamala Harris's ability to be president,
from the very beginning, I made no bones about that. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her.
he made clear he would only reconsider his decision to stay in the race if polls show he has no path to victory.
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win.
Uh-oh. They're giving him the solid edit again. They're chat. This is a dangerous prospect. Okay. They're giving him the dignity edit. Okay. For the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they were not doing that. They were just showing it raw. Now they're giving him the dignity edit where, you know, they're just like chopping it up to make it sound like he's got making it sound like he is very coherent. Yeah, the coherence edit is here. This is we covered it yesterday, but the New York Times didn't give him the coherence edit and immediately fucking wrote, without paraphrasing, exactly what he had said verbatim. President Biden said polling in the presidential race is premature because the campaign really hasn't even started. I mean, hadn't started in earnest yet most of the time start till after September, after Labor Day. Where's the ellipses? The issue is not his current performance as much as what his performance will look like in a month, a year, in 3 years. Why doesn't he get this? Because he is a spiteful, resentful old man, and many of us know those people in our immediate lives, people that are just holding on due to modern medicine going too far, extending the lifeline of all of these fucking assholes who have captured 75% of the wealth. He's just a regular old crusty ass boomer who's just like, why won't you give me what's due? I deserve it. I deserve it. That's it. He's just like, I've been in politics for 50 years. I'm the president. Look at how great my agenda has been so far. I deserve it. It's my time. It's my time. What is going on in the world, brother? Everyone over the age of 65 is just going crazy mode. They need to dial it back and go. They need to be put out the pasture. Okay. Go live in a fucking retirement home. You know, fuck each other silly. Get all of the fucking gonorrhea on the planet. If you want to do all of that, that's fine. But stop fucking the bag up. Okay. We need to do a forcible extraction of all of the wealth that is captured at the tippy top right now. And I don't mean by like, I don't know, the new geriatric focused economy that we are going into. I'm talking like just take their money. Take their fucking money. It's done. Take their power away. Take the keys to the car. No more boomer shit. Yeah. Levin, apparently, Mike Levin, told Biden directly to his face that he should drop out. Translation, Joe, my internal polls look very bad. Please drop out. Yeah, that is what that means. And that's not a bad thing. That's a smart thing. Yes, Biden is unironically harming the entire Democratic Party's down ballot races. It's really fucking bad. For anyone on the Hill, this letter is explicit permission, perhaps even tacit support for coming out against the president. It seems neutral. It isn't. Yeah, he's so Jeffries is basically, as I've said before, Jeffries is Nancy Pelosi's guy, right? Nancy Pelosi basically groomed him for this position. So he is going to do exactly what Nancy Pelosi said. And that's precisely what he's doing. Dear colleague, Hakeem Jeffries' letter. Over the past several days, House Democrats have engaged in a thoughtful and extensive discussion about the future of our country during a time when freedom, democracy, and the economic well-being of everyday Americans are on the line. Our discourse has been candid, clear-eyed, and comprehensive. On behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, I requested and was graciously granted a private meeting with President Joe Biden. That meeting occurred yesterday evening. In my conversation with President Biden, I directly expressed the full breadth of insight, heartfelt perspectives, and conclusions about the path forward that the caucus has shared in our recent time together. As House Democrats have done throughout this Congress, we will continue to work in the best interest of everyday Americans. Thank you for your continued leadership in the service of the communities we are privileged to represent. Sincerely. So this right here, and Izzy is literally used to be a press person. I think might still be, but used to be a press person for Ilhan Omar. I think still is the press person for Ilhan Omar. Like, his job is literally to write that, okay, for a congressperson. So he's absolutely correct on this. For anyone on the Hill, this letter is explicit permission, perhaps even tacit support for coming out against the president. It seems natural. And it seems neutral. It isn't. And he's right. He is basically doing what political reporting came out about yesterday that Nancy Pelosi was doing. Nancy Pelosi apparently told House Democrats, like, urged them to, one, speak out against Biden, and two, if they have to call out Biden and call him to resign, then and it's going to help their elections, they should do so. That is the exact opposite of what you do as the House Speaker. Nancy Pelosi's entire job, throughout her entire career, has been to make sure that that never happens. So the fact that she is allowing leaks to happen, and in those conversations, basically saying, no, you can come out against Biden, giving explicit permission to come out against Biden at a time when Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi are supposed to be Biden's greatest allies that are supposed to stop this flow of discontent, means that they want him out. And the reason why they want him out is because they see the dire prospect of the down ballot races with Biden at the top of the ticket, and they see the dire prospect of Biden's reelection. I think ultimately, I would say that at this point, it would be silly to drop out before the RNC, especially when a lot of the RNC communications is going to be around the top of the ticket being Biden. Some of them have actually recalculated, and some of the Republicans have actually started retriangulating their messages against Kamala Harris. No, not DNC, RNC. The RNC is starting in the next 3 days. Donald Trump is going to reveal who his vice president is in the next 3 days. Ultimately, yeah, it's going to be JD Vance, but that's different. Right now, even if they had convinced Biden to drop out yesterday or today or tomorrow, I doubt that they would come out before the RNC. They want the media to pay attention to the, madness cycle of the Republican Party. Okay? It would be genuinely smart to, wait until after the RNC is done to come out with the Biden dropout revelation. That is if they have actually convinced the old man to listen to reason. I don't understand why waiting would be better. Wouldn't it cause people to focus on the batshit stuff that the RNC is doing? No. Biden dropping out is a major week-long media cycle affair, maybe even a month-long media cycle affair. He drops out, then people shift their focus to who the new person is. No, that would dominate the news cycle in the same way that, like, Biden's current bad brain is dominating the news cycle. This is very fortuitous for Donald Trump, because every moment that the media apparatus is not covering Donald Trump's insanity and ridiculous reactionary sentiment and how chaotic he is, how disordered the Republican Party is, and how they are responsible for abortion, is a good moment for the Republicans and their electoral prospects. So the Democrats, in terms of the upcoming election, really desperately need the media to shift their focus onto the RNC. And Biden's flubs currently are kind of making that hard. So right now, I would go so far as to say that the Monday meeting with Lester Holt is a bad move. I think that Biden's team is bad. I'll just say it like that. I think Biden's campaign is not good. We already knew that they were not good when they decided to fucking trot him out in front of 50 million people in an early-ass debate that is now going to possibly cause him to leave the election altogether. That's a massive flub. I am trying to find it, but there was a political scientist saying that Biden dropping out right after the RNC would be unlike anything we have a history of, because it sucks the air out of their message and let Dems remake it however they want if Dems were smart. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I am in agreement with this. I think that tactically, it would be an incredible move to just wait out until after the RNC if the Democrats were united, if they were smart, which they are not, and they are cowardly, they are feckless, they are legitimately scared. Some for good reason, because obviously making bold proclamations about the top of the ticket, demanding that the top of the ticket drop out is going to create an air of panic. Having said that, it'd be a pretty solid move. Who is favored to win the 2024 election? 538 uses polling, economic, and demographic data to exploit likely election outcomes. Biden wins 50 times out of 100 in our simulations over the 2024 presidential election. Trump wins 49 times out of 100. There is less than 1 in 100 chance of no electoral college winner. The data is perfectly accurate, I swear. Why are you guys doing the same thing that the Democrats are doing? When you see something that doesn't reflect what you immediately thought the race looks like. Guys, I have maintained the position that there is still a likelihood that Biden wins this election. Okay? All things considered. The problem is not whether or not Biden can win the election. The problem is how fucking unlikely it is at a time when it should not be a toss-up at all. Do you not understand the problem here? The fact that there is still a likelihood that Biden can win the election is the reason why he's holding on for dear life, which is really fucked up. A lot of the new polling that's coming out shows him losing popularity in swing states, and that's pretty fucking significant, okay? Internal numbers are showing that they're underwater, and that's also pretty fucking significant. Having said that, however, this is not a 50-50 race, okay? This should not be a 50-50 race. This should be a 70-30 race. If there was currently a competent leader at the top of this ticket, it would be 70% favoring the Democratic Party, 30% favoring the Republican Party. But right now, it isn't there. And that's a massive problem, especially considering how much worse the media cycle is going to get for the top of the ticket and what the down ballot implications are of all of the other Democrats that are unfortunately running in the same election cycle as a 800-year-old man whose only prescient message is going to be okay? We beat Medicare. If that is the guy leading the party, everyone is only going to talk about that. And the more they talk about that, the less likely it is for Democrats to be able to captivate those who are just not interested in voting. Okay? RCP polling honestly seems more accurate, and this was in 2020. RCP polling is not more accurate. RCP is always at a fucking right-wing bias, in my opinion. All of these different polls have ratings, okay? All of these different polls have leanings. So poll aggregators weigh those biases when making these, when they make these kinds of assessments. And how you differentiate between polls is what ultimately makes you a better aggregator. And RCP ultimately is like right-wing leaning. You're just calling it right because you don't agree with it? Wait, what? Dude, I think people are very confused when they say stuff like this because I mean, do you think I'm coping because I love Biden or something? Like it's been 4 fucking years that I've been talking about how Biden is old and he's going to be a one-term president and that he should not have been the candidate for the Democratic Party in 2020. And that was a massive mistake for the Democratic Party's continuation. And that was a massive mistake for policy in general. And in some ways, Joe Biden actually outperformed my expectations, like his commitment to leaving Afghanistan, which I will always defend. And also, some of his administration's federal agency moves have been pretty fucking solid. He's been more pro-labor. This is another thing that I will always stand on. He's been more pro-labor than I thought he would be. And he's also been kind of dog shit on other issues. Bad instincts overall as far as a centrist elder statesman in terms of hyping up the likes of Kirsten Sinema, not whipping the votes adequately for his own policy agenda, allowing the IRA to get neutered, allowing Build Back Better to be fucking destroyed. There are plenty of things that he did that I disagree with ultimately, but all things considered, if we're grading on a curve in terms of how the Biden administration has looked like, pre-October 7. On October 6, he's looking pretty fucking solid. He called Vice President Trump. Okay, I'm going to say something here. Joe Biden is significantly more demented than Joe Biden of 4 years ago, significantly more demented than Joe Biden of 10 years ago. Having said that, however, in his moments where the light is on, in terms of his foreign policy, what these people care about, okay, he is definitely smarter than Donald Trump, okay? In terms of the military-industrial complex, he's more reasonable, not as volatile as Donald Trump. But that does not reflect the attitude of the broader electorate. As a matter of fact, sometimes, or oftentimes, it is directly at odds with what the voters care about. This already happened in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. This is a verbatim, one-for-one, direct, identical carbon copy of the way that the media looked at Hillary Clinton and said she is a brilliant person at statecraft. She is the Secretary of State. She knows what foreign policy looks like. Trump doesn't know anything. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow. And it didn't matter because the entire American project revolves around Americans not fucking paying attention to the death and destruction that America causes globally. And that is the reason why Americans don't give a fuck about their foreign policy, for good or for bad. Normally, in order to maintain American imperialism, yes, you have to sedate the masses. You have to make sure that they don't even ever comprehend the death and destruction that we are responsible for overseas. So therefore, when Biden is like, genuinely a brilliant person when it comes to foreign fucking policy in terms of in comparison to someone like Donald Trump, Americans don't give a shit. If anything, they think Donald Trump actually simplifies these otherwise very complicated things when he says, I defeated ISIS. I killed the most the scariest terrorist of all time. And that's precisely the reason why it didn't work in 2016. When the media narrative was like, Hillary Clinton knows what she's talking about. Isn't she fucking brilliant when it comes to foreign policy? Versus a guy who literally said, I like my war heroes that were not captured. Okay. Which was personally something that I found to be awesome. And that's why I illegally voted for Donald Trump in 2016 1 million times in the state of California. Nobody pay attention to the psycho on the red side, though, is such a funny take. Like, dude, the notion that like, oh, people aren't paying enough attention to Donald Trump is so stupid when he is quite literally shutting the fuck up for the first time in his life when he normally would be chirping. Do you notice why he's shutting the fuck up? Because obviously Biden's mental fortitude, or lack thereof, rather, is more important in the media cycle than what you know about Trump already. You can want the American public to just close their eyes to that reality of Biden's obvious cognitive decline, but that's not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. But of course, a lot of people who have this kind of attitude, like Democratic Party loyalists who are behaving like Biden dead enders right now, always have the exact same fucking narrative run, which is, well, Hillary Clinton will win if you vote for her. Well, you know, you guys are just not voting for the Democratic Party hard enough. It's your fault. That's not how elections work. You need to start holding your politicians and their staffers accountable for running bad campaigns.